to use. So today, here are the 3 steps that I want to talk about. Getting set up and sending out your invitations, basic and advanced mediation features, and agreement. It's actually fun to get paid when we mediate. So let's make sure we go over that too. All right, so first, getting set up. As I mentioned, I'm going to be talking about Zoom simply because right now it's one of the most common platforms. By tomorrow, it's probably going to be outdated because things are moving so quickly right now. I am using Zoom as my first choice, but I think it's really important to get familiar with a backup, something like WebEx, GoToMeeting, even Skype, Digital Samba, WhatsApp, something that you can be very familiar with. Whatever you decide to use, here are the main things that I'm always going to look for. First, is it safe? Is it secure? And the main reason why we want to look at that is you want to make sure that your clients feel safe. If they're going to express their deep, heartfelt secrets to you, then they need to know that nobody else can listen in, right? So that's the first one. You want to make sure that it's safe. Second, do you have the ability to do video conferencing as well as just call in case their internet goes down, things like that. You want to make sure that you can use your audio as well. The ability to do some kind of breakout rooms or have a private conversation. And you might set that up on your own where you're just having an individual conversation with one person and then a joint with everyone. But the point is we need to make sure that whatever platform you're working with, that you have that flexibility. So I kind of think about it like when I'm at home, Zoom is like my at-home meals. I know exactly where everything is. I know what my flavors are. I know what my spices are. I know exactly how I want to do things. But sometimes life changes, right? Sometimes you're running late. You're on the road. You have to get your kids to soccer practice, things like that. And so you need to know what your favorite food backup option is. If I want to swing by and grab something on the go, I need to know what that option is. And so for me, that's what these backup platforms are. I want to be familiar with it because Zoom changes. It was just a couple of months ago where Colin and I had set up this big training, and the night before, Zoom had changed their password requirements and we had no idea. So nobody could get into our Zoom meeting, but thank goodness we had a WebEx backup, right? Because life just changes. So anyway, so that is, if you have one takeaway from this, become very familiar with Zoom or whatever your first choice is, but then also become really familiar with the backup. And we'll talk about what that means by really familiar in just a second. Okay, so as we are getting set up, there are 2 main things that we want to think about. We want to balance the safety of our clients, but also we want to make sure that they feel welcome, right? So for me, I go to zoom.us and create an account. And then there are 3 main ways that I want to get set up. So first there's our browser, then the desktop app, and then your phone app. So in your browser, that's going to be something like Chrome, Firefox, whatever your favorite browser is. And that's where we will go over our main settings, okay? So it's the first thing that we're going to do. So this is what it looks like. I go to zoom.us, I click on my account, I click on settings. And then you want to think again about, I want to make sure that I'm keeping this meeting safe, right? If we're sharing important documents back and forth, we were working with a client a little while ago, and they were working with children that were being taken out of an abusive situation. Parents who wanted to kidnap them, who wanted to take them across the different borders. And so it was very important that these meetings were kept safe because we knew that that one of the parents was trying to break in and find them. So we had to keep it very safe. We did that by setting up a waiting room, by setting up a password, by making sure that they were completely encrypted. And we wouldn't let anyone into the meeting until we knew who they were. So we might say, send us your first and last name ahead of time, something like that. But what's frustrating is if people just call into the meeting and then all you have for their username is a phone number. Well, if it needs to be a safe meeting, I have no idea who that is. So I need to make sure that I have pre-approved them somehow before I've let them in a difficult meeting. Something that has to be safe. Okay, so here's how I broke it down for myself, just so I could see it very clearly. In Zoom or whatever platform you're using, this is what I want to enable. Obviously, we have to have our mic on, our video on, and the ability to chat. And some people I know have asked about that. Well, we don't want parties to be able to chat back and forth to each other, right? Because what if somebody is sending a mean message to the other person in the room, and then they become defensive or intimidated and they can't settle the meeting? Well, we can turn off the ability for the parties to chat together, but as a mediator, I think it's incredibly important to be able to chat with your clients. And here's why. I don't want to act like we are just taking our normal face-to-face meeting and trying to squish it somehow into our Zoom meeting, because that doesn't work, right? They're completely different. And if I try to treat them the same, then we're not going to be getting as much as we should be getting out of our online meeting. So instead, just realize this is totally different. When we're meeting online, it's completely different. That doesn't make it worse. It doesn't make it better. It just makes it different. And one example of that is being able to chat with our clients. If we're face-to-face, I would never be able to send them a quick resource or send them a link or send them to an online custody calculator. But when we're online, we have that ability. So why not use it, right? We're missing out on some of our other senses. I can't tell you what my client smells like, for instance, and sometimes that's a really good thing. But even though we're losing some of those senses that we would have face to face, we are gaining some other ones, right? We are gaining that we're suddenly connected to the internet. We suddenly have everything we need to resolve this dispute at our fingertips. So let's take advantage of that. So it still feels like a rich experience, right? So your clients are still completely engaged through the whole process. So one example of that is turning on chat. And then the other are these pieces at the bottom, which we'll go through in just a second. Turn on annotation, whiteboard, breakout rooms, remote control, and the personal meeting ID. Okay, these are all different ways that I'm constantly engaging and interacting with my clients during a session, again, just to make sure that they feel involved in this process, that they're not just tuning out and sitting back and watching TV, but that they actually feel like this is a conversation that they're a part of. Okay. I've mentioned disabling. So I disable the ability for them to send a chat to each other. I disable any kind of file transferring, and I disable recording. But like anything, of course, there are going to be exceptions. So I will often turn on file transfer right at the end when we are going to send an agreement back and forth. And sometimes we need to record the actual signing of the agreement. That's going to depend so much on if your court requires you to send in a recording, if they are working for an insurance company, sometimes they have needed to record that final signing of the document. So right at the end, you might need to enable a recording. But for all of the conversation, I don't want that to be recorded. My clients don't want that to be recorded. So I always keep that turned off as much as I possibly can. Yes, absolutely. I would be happy to send you this PowerPoint. Okay, so I said that we did 3 things, right? There are 3 ways that we're going to get set up. So the first one is we get set up in our browser. So you go to Chrome, Firefox, something like that, and you get everything set up that you want. Then the second is you need to make sure to download a desktop app. And again, whether you're using WebEx or Skype, they're all going to have a desktop version. Why do we download this? It just saves us time. And let's face it, nobody wants to waste time. There are other things you want to do, right? You want to sit back and drink your coffee. So anything that we can do to save us time and make this a simpler process is very important to me. So one of the first things that I did when I got Zoom was I downloaded the desktop app. And as you see, as soon as you download that, you have that option to just click new meeting. The reason why you have to get everything set up with your browser first, though, is because you just have more options in there. You get all of your big stuff set up in your browser, and then you can just make some fine-tuning tweaks in the actual meeting. Next, you also, let's skip through this. You want to make sure that you also have Zoom downloaded onto your phone. There are so many times where I have needed to use my phone as a backup. If you need to just call your clients, if you need to send them a text, if you need to send them a chat, oh my gosh, my internet just went out, or my computer overheated and it died. Can we wait 5 minutes and then I'll join? If I can share 2 tricks though that I've learned that really helped me. First, make sure that you are actually signed in. It's not just enough to download it, but make sure that you're signed in. And then second, if you are just going to call in, make sure that you have your meeting number saved in there somewhere. I remember my first time that my computer crashed and I thought, oh my gosh, okay, well, at least I can call my clients because they're still in the Zoom conference room. And so I went to call them and realized I have no idea what my meeting number is. And it's saved in my computer, which just completely crashed. So hopefully you have a little bit more foresight than I do, but I completely forgot about it until it was too late. So make sure that you not only download the app to your phone, but that you are signed in and that you have a copy of your meeting ID and any kind of a password saved into your contacts. Okay, so Zoom, the phone version, it's fast, it's reliable, but it's very limited, which is kind of frustrating. Oops. So it's great to have as a backup, but you just are not as powerful when you're using your phone to mediate online. You won't be able to have those private breakout room conversations. You won't be able to send a file back and forth. So I think the phone works great in the beginning. If you're just establishing rapport, we're getting to know each other, things are nice. It is not where you want to be sharing detailed information or trying to sign an agreement, okay? Yes, I will be happy to send a PowerPoint over, absolutely. But like I said, if you have any questions about this, if you want me to go more in depth on any of these sections, please jump in and let me know. All right, so getting set up with Zoom means that we get comfortable with all 3, with the browser version, the desktop app, and the phone app, okay? So the quick summary, in your browser, we want to enable the audio, the video, your host. So your host account, that's you should be able to chat, and make sure that you can file share if you're at the agreement stage. Disable recording, and then download the desktop app and the phone app, okay? If you have any questions about that, let me know. I'm going to move on. So next, we have everything all set up. Now we want to schedule a meeting, okay? So to schedule a meeting, again, you can do that just in your desktop app and then send an invite. And the key that I want to spend a little bit of time on is make sure that you listen to your client's concerns, okay? So first, we are going to keep your invite short and sweet. You all are probably experts at this point. You're members of the online dispute resolution club, which is incredible. Your clients are not. So your clients probably have not gone through this process yet where they feel safe, where they feel comfortable with the software, okay? And what that means is we want to make this as absolutely easy and simple as we possibly can. If your clients are coming to you to mediate a dispute, it means that they're probably already on edge, right? They already have a very high level of anxiety. And the last thing that you want to do is bring in something that triggers them even more, that raises their stress level even higher. So instead, right from the beginning, from your very first invitation to them, you're thinking about how can we establish rapport? How can we make them feel comfortable with this process and start to give them hope that there is a possible resolution? How can I establish trust in myself as a mediator? So I have an example of the invitation that I send out here, just very simple. And I make sure to include my phone number. And I'll usually say something like, hey, if something happens with Zoom, no problem. If you can't log in, no problem. Here's my phone number. Just give me a call, send me a text, and we'll figure it out. Again, right from the beginning, I'm establishing rapport and thinking about that very intentionally through every step of this process. So every text I send them, every email, whether it's a proposal, I am just going out of my way to keep this really simple, right? And to make them feel like it's okay, we're going to get through this. I know that it's different, but it's kind of a fun process that we're all learning together. Okay. So that is my very simple ID. And again, I use a personal meeting. What that means is that that I use the exact same number for every single Zoom meeting. That works because I have the pro account, right? If not, then your meeting number can change, and it means that you'll be cut off after 40 minutes. So I've upgraded to the more expensive one. It's like 14 bucks. I don't know. It's not much, but so again, we're all set up. We bought Zoom. We set it up in the browser, downloaded the desktop version. We've created a very simple invite template. And all that I want that to say is, here's your link. We're going to join with video and audio. And here's the backup in case it doesn't work. Okay, nice and simple. And I know I'm spending a lot of time on this. The reason why is that if you use the invite that your platform has, so Zoom, WebEx, Skype, GoToMeeting, they all have their own version where it says, hey, should we send an invite to your clients? Nope, do not do that. Do not allow the platform itself to send an invite to your clients. There's two reasons. It's really confusing when somebody sends me an invite that way. Like, I'm supposed to be this expert and can't figure it out because there's so many links in there and so many different phone numbers. I get completely lost and frustrated. Okay, now that's the last thing that you want your clients to experience. Second, if your clients have a question, you don't want them to hit reply and then they're taken to Zoom Neverland where nobody ever gets back to them. Okay, so that's why instead you want to make sure that you are sending out your own invites, something that's personal and simple. Okay, also we want to think about our background. So a couple of obvious options. You want to make sure that you have good lighting, that it's at least not distracting. I have 3 young kids. My house is absolutely never clean, but at least I try to make sure that it's not too distracting. Okay, so that your clients can focus on their resolution and not worry about how your dirty laundry is sitting out. This other one though is something that I think is very important. You don't want to have anything that's identifying in your background. I worked in Los Angeles for a little bit, and it was really scary because there were quite a few times where clients would get an agreement that they didn't like, and then they would attack the judge or their mediator or the facilitator or whomever the person was that was in charge. And we've started to hear about the same kind of thing. Even though people are online, they're trying to find a way to track down their mediator. And so the point is, we want to avoid that as much as possible. I have seen some situations where a person is sitting right in front of a window and you can see the street sign right outside their window. So if I wanted to, I could walk right up to that person's house. So just think through those things. And again, you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself as a mediator. So whatever information you're sharing, whether it's in your website, in an email, in a friendly conversation, or now we also have to think about what your background is like, make sure that you are protecting yourself, okay? And then of course, quality mic and camera. Those are all pretty obvious ones. Okay, so we're all set up. You have your plan, you have everything downloaded, you've gone through your settings now, you've arranged your invite. So great job. Now we want to check in with our clients. Okay. again, we have gone through this process. We feel pretty good about it. We feel very safe, but your clients haven't been through that process yet. So we want to take some time to check in with them. So what I usually do for that is I just set up a 5-minute test call before we even start to talk about the guts, the heart of the mediation. And this is something really different. I never would have done this when I was mediating face-to-face. Face-to-face, I would schedule, our first session was our joint session where we would talk through everything together. And, you know, I have found that that just isn't working as well when I am mediating online. So I've changed up my process, and I'm hearing about a lot of other mediators that have changed this up as well. I would love to hear, for those of you who have been mediating online, has your process changed? Is this looking different for you as well? So please jump in and let me know. Again, how this has changed for me is now I will do a 5-minute initial call with my clients, and I'll let them know, hey, we're not going to be talking about any of your concern or any of your positions or your interests or trying to resolve the dispute yet. So you don't have to come prepared with your statement. You don't have to come prepared to convince me why you're right. We're not going there yet. The only thing that I want to do in this 5-minute call is to test out your microphone, test out your camera, make sure that everything is working well. And that's what I tell them, right? As a mediator, we always have our background strategy. So what I'm really doing is giving them a safe place to let me know if they have any concerns. If there's anything that's not really working here, then I want them to have that safe place to tell me what are they afraid of. And it's usually things like, I'm afraid that the breakout room doesn't really work. That when I'm telling you these details about how I need to keep my daughter safe, that my spouse will be able to jump into that breakout room. And so we'll talk through security and how to make them feel safe. They might say they're nervous about the agreement signing part, that is a scary process for them. So we can talk through those pieces. Mainly, I need to give them a chance to talk through this, because for a lot of clients, this is still a very scary process. Okay. And again, I mentioned from the beginning, I'm doing everything I can to establish rapport. And this is probably the moment where I am depositing as much as I can into my mediator bank account, so that later I can withdraw from that if I need to. Okay. So I am putting as much in here to establish as much credibility in a relationship as I can. Next, I'm often having individual sessions next, just 20 or 30-minute sessions where they tell me what is going on in this process from their point of view. Then I'll schedule a joint session. We'll have lots of breakout rooms, and then I have a final agreement session. This looks totally different than my face-to-face process did, but I'm finding that, okay, let's face it, we are all losing our attention span, right? It is getting harder and harder for us to pay attention to long, drawn out pieces of information. When I see an interesting article, I hate to say it, but I'm mostly skimming and then focusing on the bullet points. And it's the same thing when we are mediating online. Our clients just don't have the attention span to go for these 4-hour, 8-hour sessions like we could face-to-face. We start to lose them, okay? So instead, I want to make sure that I have my clients at their best. So I will not go for more than 45 minutes without at least scheduling some kind of a break. I'm trying to do these short sessions where we're just tackling one issue at a time. And then we'll schedule another session for a couple of days later, and we'll tackle another issue. And I'm really finding that I'm getting my clients at their best. They're excited, they're energized, and they're more engaged in the process, instead of starting to get tired and zone out and disengage. That's the last thing that we want. So I'm doing these shorter sessions, and I'm trying to use whatever I think will work, will keep them engaged, will keep them excited, and keep it creative. So it might be video, we might switch to audio, I might do chat only, but I'm trying to mix it up so that they stay excited during this process. Okay. Some of the other things that I'll do to keep clients engaged are changing how I interact with them. So of course, we'll share a screen like I'm sharing right now. And I'll often do this right in the beginning when they're telling me what's important to them. I'll share my screen so that they can see me taking notes. And then they can see, oh, all right, she actually is listening to me and paying attention. And I'll share my screen as I'm making an agenda. Of course, breakout rooms can be great. We're mixing it up again. I'll send them to a breakout room and jump in with them for about 5 minutes and then meet with the other side. Whiteboards, I think, are also a fantastic way to keep your clients engaged. So let's see what that looks like. 1 second. Switching to a whiteboard here. Okay, so I love using whiteboards. As I think it was Josephine mentioned, I do a lot of, let me resume my share. It was Josephine who mentioned that I do mostly workplace mediations. And so for that, let's imagine that one client is saying, okay, here's our office and my cubicle is over here. And every time I have to talk to the manager, I have to walk by her office and she always jumps in and says, oh, why are you talking to the manager? Did you do something wrong? Are you talking about me? And so we'll talk through that process and say, okay, help me understand, help me visualize what would be a better way for you to meet with your manager. And again, it's great. It's just something else to keep your clients' brains engaged. I remember when I was going through college and I would be reading a book and they said that your brain really only remembers the first sentence and the last sentence in each paragraph, unless it's really interesting, because your brain pays attention to transitions, right? Whenever there's something new, your brain is like, oh, okay, right, let me pay attention again. Let me see what's going on. And I think it's the same thing when we're mediating online. You don't want to just sit there and go on and on because your clients start to lose focus. They retract within themselves, or they become defensive, or they just focus on their position instead of staying involved in this creative process. And that's where we want them to be. So something like this, using a whiteboard and getting them to actually draw on your screen and design something with you, can be really helpful. So for those of you who can, I don't know if anybody is free right now to be able to do this. I want you to try the other key piece that I love doing with my clients, which is annotating. So again, if you're able, bring your mouse up to the top of your screen, and then that little menu bar will drop down. Head to the far right where it says View Options. Okay, so click on View Options, drop down where it says Annotate, and this allows you to draw on the screen with me. Okay, does anybody see where that is? So again, bring your mouse all the way up to the top, all the way to the right, click on View Options, and then click Annotate. Perfect. And now this works really well with your clients because I can ask them to draw on the screen with me. Okay, so maybe draw a little, oh, we also have benches over here. Okay, thank you. Help me understand where is the sitting room where we can all have our next meeting. Yeah, perfect. So see, it's fun, right? Now you're getting engaged, your brains are starting to access that creative part, which is great because initially when your clients show up to a meeting, they are just in more the fight or flight or freeze mode where they're feeling a little bit more defensive. If we think logically about this, they're operating from the amygdala, right, which is the more reptilian part of your brain. And we want to re-engage the prefrontal cortex, which helps them to be a little bit more creative. And so one of the best ways that we can do that, help your clients move out of that defensive stance and to the creative stance, is actually getting them to be creative through something like this, using a whiteboard, using something where we're drawing together, we're creating together, and saying, okay, help me envision this, help me design the agenda. Okay, write down your brainstorming ideas. And it's helping them to access the part of their brain that we want so they can create a really perfect, I love it. Okay, so what we're seeing now is annotate. And then there's one more piece that is very important, and that's the ability to remote control. Okay, so I said that for the advanced features, we need to do breakout rooms, annotating, which is what we're looking at right now, and also remote control. So with remote control, what I typically do is I will be creating my agreement while my clients are talking. And I'll share my screen. They can annotate, they can highlight, they'll add in little notes whenever they have a question. But what's fun about this is at the end, once we're ready to sign the actual agreement, I will transfer remote control to one client who will sign. Then I'll transfer remote control to my other client who will sign. And now I have a signed document. We don't have to deal with all of the, especially if you have clients that are very nervous about this process. We don't have to deal with, okay, print out the agreement and sign it and then scan it back to me, send it as an attachment. Yes, a PDF is fine. You didn't, that's okay. You can do a JPEG as well. You forgot my email address. Okay, fine. Right. We don't want to have to deal with all of those hiccups that can be very common during this process. So if we are able to just sign a Word document right there while we're doing a Zoom mediation, it just makes life so much easier. And then everything is done. Your clients can walk away with a completed document, or at least something that they can review. They might have to take it to an attorney, or this is what I love. You might be creating a document that's their plan for the next few weeks. If they're working on things, if they're trying to figure out their custody agreement, if you're breaking up your meeting into multiple chunks, then at least you can give them a plan, okay, for how they're going to work with each other for the next few weeks, how they're going to arrange custody, how they are going to, I don't know, send the first payment, something like that. So you can have that agreement signed right there at the end of your first mediation session. I'm missing a couple of chats here. Absolutely. I think we should try that out. So give me 1 second to pull that up. Hold on. Where is, there we go. It was just taking a second to pull up. Come on, documents. All right, so let me share here again. Okay, so I have one of my, there we are. Okay, so I have one of my agreements pulled up. And so let's say down here at the bottom, Gay was one of my clients, and we'll say party 2 was another client. So then what I'm going to do as the mediator is transfer control to Morinike. So to do that, I'm checking because that might have been disabled for this meeting. Kind of looks like it is. Let me double check here.
Claire, would you be able to do that? Because
okay,
you're just
right.
co-host. Would you be able to do that? Because you're just co-host, not the host of the meeting. Except I transfer host to you.
Yeah, as a co-host, I should be able to. So it's something that you would need to set up before the meeting, and I didn't think about it beforehand, or I would have mentioned it.
It's okay.
That's okay.
At least we know about it now, so we can try.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it before.
So, yeah, it's fun. So, so let's just walk through the steps. So let's say that we have our agreement completely set up. And then I say, okay, Morinike, are you ready to sign? She says yes. So then it's pretty much where the annotating is, if it had been enabled. So you bring your mouse up to the top of the screen, and I would click where it says remote control. Next to remote control, it will say, hey, who do you want to give remote control to? And then I'll have a list of my parties. It's really easy. So I would just click on Morenike's name. As soon as I click on her name, she gets a little box that pops up that says, you now have remote control. For her, what's the right word? Solidify that control, establish that control, I guess. She just has to move her mouse around on the
Maybe
screen.
accept the control.
And then she can click. What's that?
I said accept the control, for me to accept the control.
Yes, thank you. Yes, for her to accept the control. She moves her mouse around on my screen, and then she'll just click right here next to her name. And then, oops. And then she can just type her name in. And it's neat because on my screen, you can see Morenike is now typing. So you can watch that Morenike is the one who is typing. As soon as she's done, as the mediator, I move my mouse around. That gives me back the control. I click on the other person, assign them control, they sign, and then I pull the control back, and now we have a signed document. I said in the beginning that I don't like to do file transfers for in the beginning during my mediation sessions. When we're at this stage though, and we're actually signing agreements, then I will enable the ability to send a file. And again, that's just something that we can do. That's something that you would set up in your browser settings. And what's neat is that means after we've signed everything, I can just send this file to both of my clients, and they now have a signed version of that agreement that they can walk away with. Okay. So again, it's just a fun, and it's a very simple way to get your agreement signed. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to go back. And we'll go back to present. There we are. Okay. All right. So I said that there were 3 main steps. So there was getting set up. There was the actual meeting itself, where we want to try to keep it very interactive and engaged. And then here's phase 3, which is sending documents back and forth. Like we just talked about, I can send those in a file transfer. The actual agreement, we can sign that during the process. And then of course, there's actually billing. Okay, so remote control to sign during the meeting. But there are some times where you need to get other people involved, right? You might need to review the agreement with the attorney. You might need to review it with the courts. So for that, I'll typically use DocuSign or Adobe. If you're going to use another program to have your clients sign, this is the main thing that I've learned. Make sure that you have them initial often in this agreement. If not, it kind of becomes like, oh, agree to these terms. And you're like, yeah, I'm not reading any of this. I'll just scroll to the bottom and then I'll sign my name at the end. And we don't want that to happen because this is an agreement that's very important to them. So to make sure that your clients are constantly paying attention, when you set up this agreement in DocuSign or Adobe or eSign, make sure to put a lot of points in there where you get them to initial. Have you read through this? Yes, initial here. So in the middle of paragraphs, wherever something is very important that you think is going to have a big effect on your client, anything about transferring kids, transferring money, I always make sure to have them initial next to that. Okay. So billing. This is I'm just about done, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this. What I have noticed is that a lot of mediators have changed how their billing process works. Again, when we were face to face, a lot of people were just charging for an hourly rate. They would say, here's my price, and every hour that we mediate, you need to pay me for that hour. And I think a lot of clients were starting to feel like, oh gosh, the mediator just keeps talking and talking, or they keep asking me about more and more of my feelings just so that they will get paid more money. And that didn't feel good. The last thing that you want is to have your clients feel like you're taking advantage of you. So, or taking advantage of them. So I have found that people are switching up how they are charging their clients. Some people are just charging a set amount for a certain issue. So they're saying, if you need to renegotiate your child custody arrangement, if you need to renegotiate your payment plan, if you need to change how you are sending in payments to your insurance company or something like that, then we will just negotiate that one issue, and here is the rate for that, which is a very different way to think about things, because it might go faster and it might go slower. So as the mediator, you might be making a lot of money one day and less money the next day. But for your clients, there is that, there's the comfort in knowing, okay, this is how much it's going to cost. And I don't have to worry about it charging, about this mediation being more expensive than that. I've also seen some people that are doing a retainer ahead of time. I've seen people that are charging a tier of things. So for instance, if you're getting a divorce, here is your bottom tier. If you also need to negotiate custody, here's the next tier of payment. If you also need to negotiate dividing up your house and a lot of your assets, then here's the top tier. And it's just helping to keep things a little bit simpler for clients, so that again, in this uncertain world and in these scary times, that at least they can take comfort in knowing about what this is going to cost them. I try to send them a proposal ahead of time as well, letting them know any anticipated cost and about how long I think it's going to take. Like I said, we are trying to make this a simple process, trying to send out all the good, warm, fuzzy feelings that we can right from the beginning, so that your clients feel very safe. And then finally, when it comes to payment, this we definitely want to make as simple as possible, because you want to make sure that you're getting paid for the work that you do. I use PayPal. I think a lot of people are still using PayPal because it's trusted, and it's just a very simple link that you can put on your website. You can put in your emails, you can send it to them again in a chat of your Zoom session. Just, make it easy once you've done the work for people to pay you for the work. Okay, so again, the 3 steps for mediating online: get set up, send out your invitations, do your mediation with lots of interactive features, trying to keep people's brain engaged and in that creative space so that they don't step into fight, flight, or freeze. And then send documents back and forth. You can send those documents with a chat. You can have them sign with remote control, and then send them a link to how to get paid. And there you go. If you have any questions, here's my email address. That's probably the easiest way to interact. And then I just want to end on this thought, because I love it. The idea that rising tides raise all boats. In other words, we're all in this together. This is a new and scary time, but also kind of an exciting time. So whatever we can do as mediators to make this process easier for each other, it just helps the entire mediation field and the community around us. So any ideas that we have for improving this process or making it less scary, I think it's important that we work together to share those ideas. So those are the main pieces that I want to share with you. But I wanted to check in now. Was there any part that I should go over that was confusing, or any other questions you have about this? Very good. And you can just jump in. Thank you, Marnike. You can jump in and ask those questions. You can send them via chat.
Wow.
Whatever works best.
Amazing. I mean, just so amazing how the time just went by so quickly. And well, I think Yvonne has a question. She has a hand up. Yvonne, would you like to go with your question? It's been so much within 45, 50 minutes. Amazing. So Yvonne,
Yes.
can you just, okay.
Hello, Claire. Thank you for the session. Hello, everyone.
Thank you.
My question is to do with billings. Now, as you said, this is we're in a new dispensation, so to speak. This is a new normal. And you didn't mention about, do you bill part payment in advance, or do you take the money in full, or do you wait till after? From what you were saying, it seems as if you wait for payment after the mediation. That's the impression I'm getting.
I do, but I also let them know that I expect to be paid at least once a month. So if it is a mediation that's going to last quite a long time, then I try to send them a rough proposal, letting them know that I'll anticipate we'll have 10 sessions over the next 3 months, but also that I will be sending them an invoice at the end of every month, and I expect to be paid within 30 days.
Just to elaborate on that, for some mediations that are about you're able to mediate within, say, a 5-hour window and a day or two. Typically, would you ask for a part payment, or again, would you wait till after the session?
If it's someone that I haven't worked with before, or if it's someone that says they are, that I know the mediation is about not having enough money for something, then yes, I would ask for a partial payment before. I did quite a few mediations for the businesses around us that were being affected by the coronavirus, that were trying to figure out if they could stay open or not. And I told them that I would give them a special coronavirus rate of half off. And, you know, I knew that they didn't have money, and I should have been clearer in the beginning, but those are the only people right now that I am trying to track down those payments. And I think at this point, I might just say that it's a wash, because I know that they're having a lot of money troubles because of coronavirus. Yeah, so it's only been the clients like that where I didn't tell them up front, this is how much it's going to be, this is the day that you need to pay me, where those clients are just feeling like, oh, let's wait another couple weeks. Oh, let's wait and see how things go. Let's wait till we get more money in. Then maybe we'll send Clare a payment. So yeah, it's definitely a different world. Yeah, I think when you see someone face to face and you shake their hand, you feel more of a commitment to actually pay them. Being online, there is a little bit more anonymity. And so I've noticed I have to be much more aggressive about how much people need to pay and what date they need to pay me. I never went through that when it was face to face. Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
That was interesting. Thank you very much, Claire. Yvonne's second question, she went straight ahead to what I had in mind when you had said, if you had 10 sessions, you then have a pattern on how to bill. And then she quickly came up to say, well, what if you had like 5 hours? And I think your explanation, sorted that out quite well. You have to know the clients you're dealing with at any particular time. Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions? Can we look in the,
yes, please.
Let me have a quick look in the chat.
Okay, someone else.
Okay, yes, please go on, Veronica.
Okay, well, my question is really as regards to the signing and the recording when you had to deal with the issue of reagreement, because I think for me that's been a point that a lot of people, at least in this time, have not been very comfortable with. Because if you have to use DocuSign, for instance, you'd have to have an account, and you have to. I know that there are quite a few like free apps that would allow you sign. If you actually could give control to someone and you could have a recording of that, I think that could help in a way. So I'd just like you to maybe explain a bit more about that.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure. And again, I'm pretty lucky because for most of my workplace mediations, just being able to sign that Word document is enough. We don't need anything more official than that. And so that's why I focus on that process, because for my clients, it's enough, and it just makes things so much simpler. So again, I will create my agreement while we're mediating. I'll create my agreement via Microsoft Word. And then at the end, once we're ready to sign, that's when I will transfer remote control. Again, we just need to make sure to set it up in the beginning that we're able to do three things: that we're able to transfer remote control, that we're able to transfer files, and that we are able to record that process, because there are some places that will need to see the actual recording. So when I transfer remote control, I'll say, okay, as we discussed, I am now going to record this process, and we need to make sure to include that as an exception to confidentiality in their agreement as well, right? Because their agreement probably says, you can't have any recording of this. Oh, let me give you one more link, actually. I'm interrupting myself, but I think this is important. We have been putting together a list of all of the best resources that we found. And in that is some examples of confidentiality and agreements to mediate that I've just thought were really good. So I've put all of those together on this site. I'm sharing that in the chat. It's at onlinemediators.com, and it's on the resources page there. So in your confidentiality agreement, it probably says no recording, no screen sharing of any kind. Nobody else can be in the room or in a place where they can hear or where they can view the screen. And, and I'll have them sign that beforehand, and we will all agree to it. But if we're going to record, I let them know this is an exception to the confidentiality agreement, and we will write that out in our final agreement, saying that this process was not recorded except for the signing of the agreement. That file will be sent to both parties, and they'll have to send it to their manager, or they'll have to send it to the courts or something. So we'll make it very clear what's happening to that file. So then when I go to record, I'll say, okay, as we discussed, Kenneth, I am now going to hit record. Okay, you see that red light just turned on in the top left. That lets you know that we're recording. I am now transferring to Kenneth. He has remote control. My hands are off the screen. You can see it's Kenneth who's signing. Thank you. I'll now transfer it to Abiola. You can see Abiola signed, and it says on the screen, Abiola signing. Thank you. You both have now signed the document. I'll stop recording, and then I'll verify with them. Okay, you can see that that red light turned off, right? So we're no longer recording. Okay, thank you. So now this goes back to being a confidential process. And I try to really go through those steps and clarify with them, just so they know I'm taking it seriously, so they understand that I am being very aware of keeping their information safe and confidential. So I'll probably over explain it to my clients, again, just so they feel safe.
Wow, just so amazing. I mean, I'm sure we could go on and on and on and on, but we've had 1 hour already. And just looking at the title we had for this knowledge sharing session, said getting started with video mediation. But from the moment I started listening to Claire, I just thought, well, I might as well change this topic to the A to Z of video mediation, because you started off quite well. It was awesome how you took us from the very beginning and all the way to the end on executing the terms of settlement. And I found that really interesting because I thoroughly liked the fact that you had another angle beyond having the DocuSign and all of that. You could transfer remote controls, you could transfer files, and then I like the recording bit. I mean, because sometimes we have issues when people say, well, I didn't really want to sign, but the mediator made me sign, so that recording bit, something I just, got from today is extremely fantastic. And I like how you will have played it out with your hands up saying, well, you can see the button and all of that, and definitely an exception to the confidentiality rule. It's morning at your place, Claire, and we are just relaxing, almost the end of the day. I work back here in Nigeria. And then also we have some of our colleagues from different parts of Africa and joining us today. And we just want to say a big thank you for accepting the invitation to share with us. Within the short period, we've taken home so much. And thank you for the resources that you've shared with us as well. You've been generous also with your email address. And I'm sure ODR Africa will, be on with you with this relationship.
Thank you.
And whenever we call upon you again, we have no doubt that, you were there to just respond to us. I also would like to say a big thank you for those that have taken time out to attend this webinar. It's been awesome. We started with 6, 7 people, and now we're on 17. And I'm sure that in a short while, the news will go around and many people will be looking forward for feedback. And, just say thank you very much. And I wish you the best in your different practice of mediation. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure having you on behalf of ODR Africa. Thank you very much.
That's so kind, Josephine. Thank you.
Okay.
And ditto. I look forward to continuing to connect. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Certainly. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Claire. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.